Hey guys, welcome back to yet another Ys impressions video on the latest one I beat, which is Ys 6, the Ark of Napishtim. No physical version here. I don't have neither the PSP or the PlayStation 2 version, but I did play this digitally via Steam on the PC. So yeah, another check mark on the Ys games that I'm trying to play and complete all of them, and I guess I'm making pretty good progress. But Ys 6, Ark of Napishtim marked the first Ys game released by Falcom in a long time. This game was released in the early 2000s, I believe around 2003. For Windows or PC, and it was later ported to systems like the PlayStation 2, the PSP version, and then Xseed obviously took over and re-released the game on the PC, but this time via Steam with some improvements. This is kind of like one of the weird things about trying to play the Ys games chronologically, even though this is Ys 6, which is kind of like one of the quote-unquote newer games in the chronological order. It's also one of the most dated ones in terms of gameplay mechanics, and by that I mean this game introduced the Ark engine, the Ark of Napishtim engine, that it's also used in Ys Origin and Ys Ultim Vulgana, but since Ys Origin and Ultim Vulgana were released after Ark of Napishtim, they have refinements not only in the gameplay and the combat system, but also slightly better graphics and just overall game design. Now, as far as the story in this game, this is yet another adult Christian adventure where he's on a ship that's being attacked. Adol is with a couple of his friends, some pirates, and including Dogi, and they get attacked. And in order to try and save a friend, Adol falls from the ship and then gets pretty much sucked into this vortex in the ocean that makes him wash ashore in this kind of like very far away region, the Canaan Islands. This region is called. And Adol pretty much wakes up, and it's saved by these two sisters, Ola and Isha, I believe. They're part of the local, I guess, race or tribe called the Reda, which they have pointy ears and like fluffy tails. That's kind of like their appearance. And so Adol is rescued by the locals and gets taken to the village, where the village elder or chief, if you will, he doesn't like outsiders that much. But you soon learn that there's actually a group of regular humans. They call them the Arisians, that have been washed ashore just the same thing or the same way like Adol did, but the problem is they cannot leave the island because of this vortex thing. So there are like two separate towns in this game, one for the locals, the Redas, and then another town for the regular humans, for the Eurasians, and it's kind of cool. There's some sort of animosity between the two groups of people, and throughout the development of the game, Adol kind of proves to the village elder that he's a good person, and they find out together exactly what exactly is going on, because there's an evil thing brewing in the story of the game, and coupled with the disappearance of this mystical or magical artifact from the tribe, that the village elder is trying to blame the Eurasians on the disappearance of this artifact, but it's up to Adol to find out what happened and uncover the mysteries of that occur in the Canaan Islands. Now, the interesting story about Ark of Napishtim is that this game, even though it can be played separate and it's a self-contained story, it actually introduces or ties certain events from previous Ys games, or at least it attempts to explain why things happened in other Ys games, which I thought it was pretty cool. It's almost like this game tries to answer questions that were never really asked by anyone, but at least it tries to put order in the Ys universe and storyline. And I thought it was a very interesting concept how this game tries to again put some explanations in certain things of the Ys universe lore. I thought that was pretty interesting. But as far as the graphics, this is a game that is the first one that uses the Ark engine, and so the game does have pretty interesting graphics, some 2D sprites for the characters, but also use of 3D backgrounds, some low resolution textures, unfortunately, but again, similarly to Ys Origin and the Ark of and the Oath and Volgana, this game is not going to blow you away with the graphics. And this particular game, being set in an island, has a little bit more of an outdoor vibe in the environments. So there's more green or open areas out there. But the game also includes some dungeons, inside temples and some mines and caves and things like that. So a lot of variety. And of course you have the beautifully hand-drawn NPCs characters and some very cool-looking animated cutscenes that were added to the Steam release of the game. So moving to the soundtrack and the sound of the game, unfortunately, I don't know if the Steam version is lacking or it's just the way the game is, but I'm pretty sure this game doesn't have voice acting like Oath and Volgana. So that's another kind of negative thing when you're trying to play these games chronologically. Ys 6, it's actually like a very dated game in that sense. So no audio or voice acting for the main characters of this game, which was a little bit weird and a little bit of a letdown coming from playing Oath and Volgana. I was a little bit bummed out that this game doesn't have that same quality. And on top of that, the soundtrack, again, amazing work by Falcom. Another Ys game that has an epic soundtrack, a lot of great tunes, but unfortunately is not on par with other games in the series, in my opinion, like Ys 1 and 2 or Ys Origins or Ys Oath and Volgana, which have amazing soundtracks. So this game, if I had to rate it, it has a very good soundtrack, but it doesn't have that awesome, I guess, rating that other Ys games have, in my opinion. The soundtrack in this game has a very distinct sound. It's very easy to kind of like tell that the soundtrack belongs to the Ark of Napishtim game. So I thought that was an interesting observation on my end. But nevertheless, again, the soundtrack amazing, and another great job by Falcom. And then, of course, the gameplay, in my opinion, this has, along with Origin and Oath and Volgana, they have the best battle system, in my opinion. Hack and slash, very quick paced. But as opposed to Oath and Volgana and Origin, this game doesn't have the gem collecting skill system that, when you defeat enemies, you don't have that combo continuation thing that was present in Oath and Volgana, for example. So the game doesn't really doesn't encourage you as much to be fast-paced or to chain combos together, which is a little bit unfortunate, and again another step back and a little bit of a bummer for me, playing this game that's lacking certain features that older games have, or not older games, but games that are early in the chronological order have. And then this game specializes, whether as in Oath and Volgana you had these bracelets that gave you magic powers. This game, Ark of Napishtim, for example, uses different weapons. So you have 3 different swords that have different abilities that you can upgrade with the MLS or MLS. I don't know how you pronounce that, but these are like the magic, I guess, minerals that add powers to the weapons. And this game has a very important explanation of what the MLS are in the Ys lore in universe. So that's something that was very interesting to learn about these things that are out there. And of course, you have to use the MLS to upgrade your swords and weapons. And you have a sword, for example, that has the wind power, another one has the fire power, and another one has the lighting power. So Depending on the type of enemy, you may have to switch it up a little bit, use different weapons, and of course, again, you can upgrade these weapons. And the same way you can do with your armor, in order to just have better strength and better defense against enemies as you progress through the game. Some annoying being the first game in the Ark engine. This game has a very annoying jump mechanic, the dash jump, which is an ability that's not needed to complete the game, but it's needed to collect certain, I guess, treasure chests or access secret areas. So if you're going for 100%, or if you really want to get some of the secret items in this game, you have to learn to master the dash jump, which was a little bit on the frustrating side, but once you get to use it and practice a lot, you'll get better at it. But it's just one of those things that you scratch your head and you're like, why the hell did they make this so complicated? And same thing with the gameplay. There are some dungeons that were a little bit on the frustrating side, very little guidance, which again, I'm not asking for the game to hold your hand from point A to point B, but the game is sometimes a little bit unclear, and it reminded me of some of the very old Ys titles like Ys 1 and 2, where some of the dungeons are just very, very confusing. There's this area in the game in the caves that has a million different ways you can go about the dungeons, and it has a lot of secret areas, and it becomes very frustrating to explore the dungeons, and if you don't know where you're going, it can be a very frustrating experience. And then the boss battles in this game are in my opinion, are pretty well done. The bosses are rendered in like 3D, and they have a pretty good strategy for a lot of the bosses. They were pretty fun to engage, and of course you have to make use of your 3 different weapons, your 3 different swords that have different abilities. Certain bosses are weaker to to certain types of attacks, so it really forces you to use a strategy. And of course, like any other Ys games, there's going to be a lot of grinding involved in this game as well. So if you're feeling like the game is being tough on you, you can always use or grind and over level yourself to have an easier time against the bosses. Now, another thing that kind of breaks the game a little bit, quote unquote breaks the game, it's not, to me it wasn't a major deal, in fact I took advantage of this, is the fact that you can have items you have a slot where you can set like healing items, for example. So you can have like up to 9 different healing items set to that slot. So if you're running out of health, you can just hit a shortcut button, and then you can consume your healing items during boss battles, for example, which is something that other Ys games do not allow you. At least the older Ys games, the ones that are based in the original old school bump combat mechanic engine, and then the Ark of Napishtim engine. So this game in that way makes things easier for you. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're also struggling, you can always have that shortcut of healing items with you. And then I think the Steam version has some upgrades that were introduced to facilitate things. There's a fast travel mechanic that was added to the game, which this is like a new thing that was added because of the fans requested it, and I can't think of a way to play this game. Like it would have been painful to go by foot, traveling all those complicated dungeons. So that's a major upgrade that I'm really glad I was able to play this version of the game as opposed to the I guess the early one released in 2003 for Windows. So some improvements were added to this Steam version. I don't know if they're present on the PSP version or not, but if I were to recommend, again, the Steam version is probably the most accessible, just because it's probably cheaper and easier to find, being a digital thing. And of course, the PSP version and the PS2 version as well, they have pretty high price points out there for the physical versions. So definitely go with the Steam version if you're interested in this game, in my opinion. But overall, This being the latest Ys entry that I completed, I have to say that this is one on the weaker side as far as the overall experience. Don't get me wrong, I still had a blast playing this game, but it does have, being the first game in that Ark of Napishtim engine, being the first Ys game made by Falcom in a long time, also I think maybe had something to do, you know, and I think Falcom took this game as a starting point, and that's how games like Ys Origin and then Oath and Volgana received improvements. It was kind of like a lessons learned for Falcom in terms of the development, and I'm glad, you know, they learned from developing this game. But you know, that soured a little bit my experience, because this game, the overall quality, whether it's the gameplay and the combat system, whether it's the soundtrack, or whether it's the I guess overall dungeon design, or you know, mechanics, this game in my opinion is not on par with other Ys games that I completed so far. Again, with that being said, I did have a very good experience with this game. Highly recommended. Again, it's not one of my favorite Ys games, but I did have a pleasant time nevertheless completing this game, and I really appreciate the fact that from a story point of view, this is the first kind of like Ys game that tries to involve things that happen in other Ys games a little bit better, and it kind of tries to find a way or a connection in the Ys universe and lore by using some concepts that you learn later in the game that I'm not gonna obviously talk about here. I don't want to spoil anything, but let me just say that it's something that I appreciate that Falcom included in this particular game for Ys fans to enjoy and kind of geek out about it. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all later. Take it easy.